What's going on, everybody? It's Best Buddy Basil here. Look at me. I'm here. Yo. I know. I know what you're thinking. Sweatshirt day. Whoa, cozy. I forgot to send out the alert a little bit early, so it's going to take a second for people to get here. Big shout out to Caretaker Dan. Caretaker Dan showing up on time before even I showed up. So you get the prize for today. Keep an eye out for some sort of raptor or bird of prey swooping into your yard to deliver a gift, a very special gift. There we go. Text messages out. People are going to be getting that in a moment. What's up? My Shell. My Shelly? My Shell. I get it. Like Michelle. Hi, my Shell. Roy's here. Last Moment on Earth. Dark Knight Cowboy. Quantum Epic. Sharon G. Look at all these cool names. We're listening right now, of course. Feeding the Ducks. Feeding the Ducks. The hit, stock, royalty-free music that comes with the streaming software. That's great. Okay, people are coming in. There we go. Thanks for being here, everybody. This is technically the pre-show. This is the pre-show, but don't worry, the real show's about to start because Feeding the Ducks is ending right now. You can hear it fading out as we go. Here we go, folks. It is Thursday. You're listening to Canary Cry Clubhouse. Don't worry, still the pre-show. We're going to start the official show here in a second. Know why? Because I actually don't really have a plan. We're flying free today, folks. I mean, we can always do. We always got backups. We do have a Beyond the Verse that we can watch, which maybe today's the day. You know, I've said today's the day for the past 4 weeks, and we just never get to it. I don't know. Maybe today's the day. But remember, this is a call-in show. Calling in is very important. I'm curious what's going on your guys' side of things, okay? Not going to lie. Weather's a little dreary today. It's a little cold. I can feel that seasonal shift happening. It's October, first of the spooky month. Things are weird. Things are feeling weird. Marty K says Monty's going to make an appearance today. You know, it is funny. The past few shows, that cat gets into the office before I start, and he just hides out. The point is to not have the cat in here because it's, you know, a little distracting. And so I always kind of peek around. It's a little messy, so there's a lot of places to hide, but I never see the cat. The cat always ends up being here. Thing is, it's chilly today. It's a little bit of a chilly day, so I imagine the cats are off hiding, cuddling with, I don't know, each other or the bunnies. Do have an indoor chicken right now. There is a chicken indoors. Who knows? Maybe this will be the day that I talk about the indoor chicken. All right, we're going to get the show started officially. You know how this works. I'm going to play a jingle that will signal to the man, Gons, that that is where to start the podcast version, because I don't have a whole lot else to say here that we can't say to the podcast listeners, okay? No secret missives today, no, you know, that kind of thing. Okay, so here we go. You know how this is going to work. I'm going to go like this. Thank you to Sir Darren, Night of the Hungry Panda, for this excellent art. The Faces of Canary Cry. This came in a couple months ago, and today was the perfect time to bust it out. Here we go. Here's a jingle. Let's start out.
Called it. We got a caller. We got a caller on the line here.
What's going on, everybody? You're listening to Canary Cry Clubhouse. Thanks for being here. Razzle dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil. And I'll usually don't say it on this show, but I'll say it now. You're not crazy, okay? If somebody needed to tell you that today, I am here to tell you that. Okay, we got people cramming into the chat. Psalm 40's here. Cat's here. Grandpa Bear's here. Love Soul. Marty K. We got the gang. And I hope this turns out to be a good one. Remember, the show is for the call-ins, okay? So you got to call in. Look, if I have to, we will play a Beyond the Verse. If we need something to talk about, that is where we'll start off. I'm happy to do it. It's nice kind of having that in the back pocket to bust out if we need. But remember, you can call in at any point you want. You look down in the description of this video. I know this is always a difficult thing, but down in the description of the video, you'll see the call-in link. I think I misspelled it on Rumble as possible, so apologies for that. In fact, I don't actually even know what's going on with Rumble. I think I accidentally started 2 streams, so I don't know which one's going, but hopefully it's going. Hopefully it's the right one. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, we got one going. Let's see here. Last Moments on Earth says, bro, are you Gons? Maybe I should just be Gons. Maybe I should. No, apologies. I am not Gons, but I am here streaming on the Face Like the Sun channel because we've got loads of Canary Cry community members over there. And that is what this show is for. We're here. We're not going to cover any headlines, although that's never a promise. Okay. We might, if something just is super important, some sort of breaking thing or some sort of unavoidable, or if it just comes up, but this is not technically the news show. Okay. This is time for fellowship, for exploring the spiritual parts of life, whether it can be all the way down to sort of the practical experiences of life or church or whatever. Again, really want to talk to some new Christians. I mentioned this last episode. I did not put the work into like reaching out, posting, hitting up the email list or the text message list. I want to do that. I haven't done it, but Lord willing, there's some new Christians who are listening now who maybe want to call in, maybe want to talk to me. Because here's the thing. If you don't know, I was born to pastors, been a Christian my whole life. I don't even really have like a cool pastor's kid story where I went off and like got really into meth and like, committed some heinous crimes, but then found my way, the sort of prodigal son story. So I'm endlessly fascinated, interested, and of course, ready to lift up my hands in praise to anybody in this world who actually finds themselves coming to Christ and sort of, however it happens. I don't know. Night of the Hungry Panda says, Basil is Gonza's advanced AI simulation of a podcaster. That is true. He's been ahead of the game for many, many years. Kat says, you mean, Baz, that you have all your teeth? Yeah, I still have my teeth. Did have the dentist appointment last Thursday. Had to cut the show short for that. Still have my teeth. Not to get too into it, but the result of that dentist appointment, boy, oh boy, do I have the most impressive home teeth care regimen. And everybody should be very proud of myself. And I encourage you to do the same, because there's nothing quite like the disappointing size of your dental hygienist, huh? You get to see so little. Now, I'm not even talking about the Tooth Reaper, okay? Longtime Basil dentist fans, this wasn't the Tooth Reaper. I'm just talking about your hygienist, usually a younger woman, with the mask and the hairnet and the glasses with the magnifying glasses on them. And they're always very sweet. They're very gentle until they get the spiky needle thing. And they're like, I'm just going to test your gums. And then I'm not going to go into detail, but those are very nasty ladies, very nasty dental hygienists. But the worst part is not the physical pain. The worst part is the disappointment. So there you go. It was enough to encourage me to up my game. And for anybody younger than me out there, young folks, take your at-home dental care seriously, okay? If you take anything away from my career, take your dental care seriously earlier rather than later. And mine aren't even that bad. It's just like an unfun repeated part of my year is having to do this. Anyways, okay, we got some callers coming into the chat here. If you want anybody, okay. So remember, this is a call-in show. You look down in the description. There's a call-in link. I just learned, I did not know this, But I just learned from the streaming people that link, that call-in link, should be the same link every show. No idea that this was the case. I'm like working my butt off to make sure that it's updated in like 10 different places, every single time. Turns out, just for Clubhouse, that call-in link is the same link every show. So you can go ahead and save that link wherever you save links. I don't know, put it in your phone or something. You should have a contact in your phone that's Canary Cry, just Canary Cry, or just say Basil on it, you know? And of course, you've already got the number saved, and we can all say it together. But if not, take out your phone, take out your text messages, text the word canary to 877-740-3226. Save that number in your phone, 877-740-3226. That is our text message alert system. Text canary to that number. You'll start getting texts from me. I do write all the texts before we go live. Throughout the week, I'll send a little text just to let you know, because of course you're not getting notifications. The YouTube algos don't like us very much. They send notifications to about 2% of our followers. That includes the Face Like the Sun people. So it's not an insignificant amount of people. But yeah, so there you go. Save this number, 877-740-3226. Text the word canary to it. And then in the contact, under like notes, or I'm sure there's like a website option in the contact, you should copy and paste the call-in link for this show, because it shouldn't change. That's at least what I'm told. Maybe producers out there, you can take a look and make sure that that's true. Okay, well, we've got some callers coming into the chat here, and we're going to start out. Oh, I was going to mention, yeah, Sir Psalm 40 is in the back room. He mentions in the chat of the back room. I can tell Basil writes them himself because of all the typos. I'm telling you, folks, it is not a spiritual gift of mine for grammar and things. It drives a lot of our producers crazy, but like in an endearing way. But also now with all the AI, I can't trust anything that comes into my phone anymore. I don't know about you guys. I'll get a dozen text messages from numbers, just hogwash, just complete hogwash. And they're all AI generated, of course. So anyways, that's how you know that texts coming from us are not hogwash or AI generated, because it's a proof of authenticity, as Sir Psalm 40 says. All right, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a caller, because that's what we're doing here. We're going to talk to Sir Psalm 40 right off the bat, see what's up. Oh, yeah, Kat says so many political texts, and it's getting ridiculous. It is getting ridiculous. Sir Darren says, Basil, there's nothing wrong with typos. They are awesome. Thank you. That's the kind of enthusiasm and support that I'm looking for today on this hazy day, this cold, cold, wet day, where the emus are huddled underneath their little shelter, and the water is flowing through the goat pen. All right, we're going to talk to Sir Psalm 40. Here we go. The man, the myth, the legend. Sir Psalm 40, how are you, buddy? There you are.
Hey, what's up, man?
Not much, man. Just doing this. Stoked to talk to you, though. What are you up to today?
Well, what I'm up to, just walked in the door from work. Pretty typical day. My son woke up sick today. I guess that would be the only thing out of the ordinary that really happened.
Okay.
But really, I didn't have anything specific to talk about, but since you were talking about the dentist and your like dental hygiene regimen, I am actually kind of interested. Like, it is a very important thing, because like, dental problems, they do kind of like creep up.
They catch up on you, bro. I'm telling you,
man, out of nowhere.
Any of our young people, if you're under 40, if you're under 30, if you're in your teens, do it now. I'm telling you. Old people told me to do this, and I did not listen. and it is
Same.
inevitable. It is an inevitable thing. It will start creeping up on you, and it is not fun. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but like there are so many other things I'd rather be like putting my time and attention towards than
Yeah,
doing this.
yeah,
So
man.
are you asking what my regimen is, or am I volunteering that information?
Yeah, I am interested, but like just kind of set the stage. I I like have when I was a child, of course, I would go to the dentist regularly because my mother would make me go, and I was always told that my teeth were like perfect all the time.
Ooh,
I never had the wisdom issue. I never had my wisdom teeth taken out,
same.
and I never had any kind of issue, and they would like parade me like it was kind of a big deal. They kind of like blew my head up because of all the things they would say. But what made it even worse, and I guess nobody knew it, but like I never brushed my teeth as a kid. Maybe like once in a
Uh-huh.
blue, like when I had to, when someone's watching me, but like it wasn't ever something I ever even thought about. And
Right.
as I got older, I like I did have a drug problem for a while, and
Mhm.
that definitely does not help at all. But like even during that, my teeth were pretty good, and it really wasn't until like near the end of like my addiction struggles where my teeth started to get messed up, and not even messed up, just come out is what was happening.
Mm.
They
Oh
would
yeah.
they were
Oh,
crumbling.
you had some fun drug problems then.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. My
You
my
had-
teeth
yeah.
my teeth were literally just crumbling in my
Mm,
mouth is what it
yeah.
was. And I I've only had 3 teeth removed, but I do still have probably at least 3, but like half teeth. You know what I'm saying? Like teeth that have had large chunks
Yeah.
fall out. And yeah, tooth pain is probably one of the worst things to have to experience. And besides that, there's so many other health issues that can come along with it. Like you have
That's
nerves that, there's all kinds of other things going on there. So yeah, please enlighten us on the seriousness of dental care and your advice.
Now, before anybody clicks away, if you're listening to the podcast version, stick around, folks. You know how this works, okay? We're not just talking about teeth. We are living on God's green earth in the version of reality that He has crafted for us, and everything is connected to everything else. You just have to have your spiritual eyes open and your spiritual ears ready to hear, folks, because you might be thinking, oh no, we're just going to talk about dental care today. There are deep spiritual wisdom waiting to be unearthed, and you must open your heart to what God has to say and apply this to not just your teeth, but your spiritual teeth. Because I am telling you, look, I know that I'm not old enough to like really be considered like for young people to like believe what I have to say or take it seriously, but I'm gonna say it anyways. And it's more than just the teeth, folks. Now, for those who have been around, especially my sort of side projects for a very long time, you know where this goes. Okay, the tooth reaper cometh, and there's nothing we can do about it. But when it comes to this particular thing, nothing will make your life better in the future quite like the energy that you put into a budgeting your time and money and being pretty good with that. But look, when you're young, that's almost impossible. Equally as impossible is investing in your teeth. Okay. So for me, I was kind of similar to you. When I was young, my parents weren't necessarily super hard on me to like, they weren't super strict as far as the teeth thing. I mean, they would say, like, go brush your teeth. And then I would go and I would fake it. And then, come back with like, I'd wet my toothbrush, or I'd like put a little bit of, I would put more energy into faking having brushed my teeth than it would have taken to actually brush the teeth. Right. So didn't have
Which
good habits.
just just to say, like that's usually how most lies work.
That's how it works, man. I'm paying for those lies that I told when I was like 6 years old. And you pay for them in the way that you're not building those good habits. So in my adult life, I went ahead and got pretty good at brushing my teeth before bed. Okay, I thought, hey, look at me go. This is more than when I was younger. Pretty good brushing my teeth before bed. I wish it was good enough, folks, because it's not now. And now I've gone through several different iterations of building this habit. Um, and it's just the thing, like any habit, like getting in shape, like getting into the Bible, like getting I mean, dude, the habits that you build again when you're young. If I could go back, anyways, I'm not going to get sideways. I'm not going to go sideways. So as far as what I'm doing now, which has worked for me in the past, I just need to stick with it. I'm waking up, eating breakfast, brush, floss, water pick. And as far as products, you got to get yourself a good 10% nano hydroxyapatite toothpaste. It's kind of expensive, but with how well it works and how fast it works, it's totally worth it. Okay. There's different brands. I mean, you can get like bottles that are like $30 for the bottle of toothpaste. There's other ones that are like $10, still expensive for toothpaste. But as far as what you're saving, totally worth it. So it's you got to make sure it has enough too. 10% nano hydroxyapatite. Don't get micro hydroxyapatite. Don't get hydroxyapatite with no nano, no micro. Must be nano, and it must be 10%. Okay, get that on there. Brush, floss, and water pick in the morning. I'm trying in about 80% of the days. I'll do the same thing after lunch, and then I'll do the same thing at bed. Now, when I say use the water pick thing, my gal is particularly unhappy with the state of my gums. And the thing with the state of your gums is it's just like bacteria. You just have like bacteria floating around in there. You're not doing a good job getting it off. It makes a little nest. It hangs out. It goes below the gum line. And then you just have to deal with the shame from the dental hygienist woman. And it's like there's nothing you can do about it. Like you can't necessarily brush it off. Eventually, they're gonna want to sedate you and like go in there and stick sharp things below your gums and like scrape up all the bacteria and stuff. It's horrible. It's an absolutely horrible thing. But I did have a wonderful boomer in my life who said, "Listen to me, son. They were trying to get into my gums too, and I'll tell you what you got to do. It works every time." And that's where I got this regimen from. So in the water pick, and the water pick is very important. Okay, you don't realize how powerful just a little spritz of water can be on your gums, especially if they're in trouble. But you got to put either some specific like gum health mouthwash mixed in with the water in the water pick, or what's that stuff when we were younger? It comes in the brown square bottle that peroxide, hydrogen peroxide, just a little bit of hydrogen peroxide in there. You don't want to overdo the hydrogen peroxide, but there you go. I'm having to treat it much like at the end of 2020 when I like was 60 pounds overweight and was like realizing like, oh no, I got to like really do something about this or else this is going to be the rest of my life. You just got to lock in. You got to lock in, bro. And here's the thing. And when I say bro, I mean everybody, not specifically you, Sir Saul, but if that's helpful, then you take that. But you got to treat it like you are like building a new life for yourself. Okay. Lots of people are unhappy with the way they look, with the way they feel. We can all name things we are unhappy about in our lives. And it's very hard. We get sort of comfortable in that lack, in that pain, in that discomfort. It's like this discomfort that we know that we are used to. It feels safer and easier than actually like just locking in and changing your life. Now, what I think is unhealthy a lot of times with this attitude is it's usually exclusively, especially if you're kind of getting this from your online influences, your influencers, especially young men. All young men want to really kill it. They want to get the success, they want to get the everything, right? But there's moments, whether they actually act on this or not, like that's very common. You got to put that energy towards something like your dental health or your growing big muscles, because doing these, applying that kind of determination and that kind of commitment to your own body is a very holy thing, in my opinion, because if you want to put this sort of young man energy, and of course I'm including the ladies in this, but we understand when I say the sort of young man motivation energy, we know what I'm talking about. Not that every young man has it, but that you can kind of talk about it in a metaphorical sense. But what the world does, living in this economy, living in this mammon worshiping beast system, where this energy for young men who really have the power to sort of change anything in their lives, it's directed towards the wrong thing. And it's usually money, it's usually power, and those are not bad things. But those things, the success in those things, as much as the world likes to make you think that that's just like all you, bro, that's all you just got a lot. The world has a lot of control over your success, your money, those types of sort of materialistic things. And I don't even use materialistic in sort of like a bad or sinful way, but we can think of like our body in a similar material way. God gave us these bodies like as our Iron Man suit for this version of reality that we like get to participate in right now. And if we, instead of directing that sort of energy outwards into this like fallen world to try to gain the approval and the resources of this like dark system that's prevailed over by principalities and powers that wants to steal our soul, that puts you at sort of a lot of risk, and is a hard thing to do. And in order to build yourself up, build your faith up, build your body up, create the circumstances that you can actually like reign and rule in a spiritual sense on this earth, you got to start with the stuff you can control, man. And I'm telling you, start with your teeth and start with your body, because those are direct, instant gifts from God that you utilize on a daily basis. And I'm telling you, you lock that stuff down early, everything else starts changing. You see the entire world in a different way. And of course, in the same way, use that body to sit down and commit the same kind of energy to your mind, reading the Bible, committing your time to prayer and to even just a sort of moral focus on what God needs you to do right now, instead of like what you want to do to get what you want. Because I'm telling you, you focus on what God wants you to do, you get like things come, like God creates the circumstances that make a life for you that you didn't even know was like what you wanted or needed. It all these little things, okay? Get your dental health right, get it on lock, make it a part of your life, make it a part of like your daily mission, and then do the same with your body. And I'm telling you, that transformation alone is going to put you in a place in life where God's will for you becomes much more apparent. It becomes much more apparent. It becomes clear, and you're not as weighed down by these I guess maybe loose ropes. I'm almost thinking of like on a boat, if anybody's worked or been on a boat, like rope management is extremely important. Like rope management will sink your ship if it's bad, you know? So just like the boring, directly effective getting things in order, like rope management on your own ship is going to put you in a place to, you know, I don't know, colonize the world to get spices and, you know, whatever, whatever it is, whatever metaphor you want to do with your ship metaphor. What do you think, Psalm 40? Am I onto something?
Yeah, always, of course. I agree that physical health definitely is probably next to your spiritual health, you know, aside from seeking God, physical health probably is the most important thing, and it does trickle down into everything else. Like if you're taking care of your body, you're probably going to be more motivated, and you're probably going to be more optimistic and confident, and you're probably going to be able to think more clearly and make better decisions. And obviously, you are going to be able to physically perform better. So, you know, yeah, taking care of your physical health and really dental health, I think specifically, you know, is
Got to
just
be right
even,
up there. It's got to be
yeah.
right
And
up there, like you said. Because
your mouth is literally like an open wound, you
yes,
know, like
they don't teach you that. What goes on in your mouth affects the rest of your body on a regular basis. Like when I started taking it more seriously, like I was sleeping better. I am sleeping better. I'm feeling better in the morning. Like it just everything changes. It's crazy. And it's, you know, I remember being a young person. And I can imagine hearing what we're hearing now and not taking it seriously. And that is just the way of the world. But there's going to be at least one person out there who hears this and makes the small incremental changes. You don't have to do the brushing and the flossing and the water pick and the nanohydroxyapatite and the everything all at once. Okay, baby, one step at a time. But I promise you, it'll start changing everything.
there was one other thing that might be kind of important that I wanted to talk about. But first, real quick, did you slip in there earlier that you lost 60 pounds in the last couple of years?
Yeah, yeah. There was by the end of 2020, which is when we started doing CCNT 3 times a week. By the end of 2020, I I was, you know, heavier than I even imagined that I would have been. You know, especially during lockdowns where you're not really around other people, so that normal like feeling seen or like feeling a little self-conscious because well, you know, you're bigger or whatever, you know, it was a lot less. So I think it was that sort of like quarantine period where I just like blew up. And it was November of 2020 that I was just like, oh no, I need to, I'm like getting into my 30s now. This is, if I don't take care of this now, I'm never going to be able to do it. And, you know, the 60 pounds took technically 4 years. But again, not coming at it with like a hard goal. I need to lose 60 pounds as fast as I can. Because I had tried that with even less amount of weight that I wanted to lose. And you're like, I got to do it. I got to do it as fast as I can. And I'm going to work out every day and I'm going to eat leaves of grass until it's gone. You burn out, it doesn't work. But doing that like one little thing every day to get things on point, you kind of just blink. It becomes a part of your life. Like it doesn't become like this extra thing you're doing when it comes to working out or whatever. It just becomes what your life is. And it took 4 years, but I mean, I had no idea how much 60 pounds actually is until it's gone off your body.
Yeah, man, that's why I wanted to bring it up because first of all, losing 60 pounds is or gaining, you know, 60 pounds is a lot of pounds. It's significant. And
Yeah.
secondly, I didn't even notice. I've been watching you this whole time, you know, like I'm gonna have to go back and maybe because it was over such a long period of time, you
Yeah.
kind of just like slipped it in there on us,
Yeah. It
stretched it
happened
out. But
happened very slowly. You know, I haven't actually even gone back and looked at, like our streams. Oh, mostly because our streams got taken off of YouTube. You would have to go back to, 2020 November time, our streams, and I bet you could see, I mean, my face was huge. And, on the streams, you don't really see much of my body anyway. So, it might not be too noticeable. But all those streams got banned. I don't think we can even get to them anymore. But
Um, I did. There was another thing that I wanted to talk about, but like it's kind of a big thing to unpack, and I don't want to take too much time. But like, what do you think?
yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, I guess I didn't set a timer for this, but yeah, let's hit one more thing, and then we can get the next caller.
All right. So, what are your feelings on AI Heiser?
Mm. What is the context with AI Heiser? I saw Gons. Did Gons make a AI Heiser? Is that what happened?
Okay, I'll fill you in. So Lagos, whom Heiser worked for, and I may be wrong about this, but I could have sworn that he stopped working there, like at some point, and from then until the end of his life, he wasn't with them anymore. But I could be wrong about that. He had
Mhm.
worked for them, and they had all of his articles or papers written by others that he would cite, and all the Heiser material, everything of
Yeah,
his,
I'm
or anything that he thought was important from someone else, all collected together, and they made straight up a Heiser chatbot. And
Yeah, I'm looking
I
at
don't
this
know if
now. Here, let me get it up here so we can look at it. This is the tweet from his Twitter account. What if you could ask a Bible question and get an instant answer from Dr. Michael Heiser's research with Logos AI? You can powered by his books, courses, and years of scholarship. Pre-order before the offer ends. Oh, pre-order. Okay. What
well
just right off the bat, what I
the
like
thing
about
that
it
got
immediately is that it does say you can get an instant answer from Dr. Michael Heiser's research, not from Dr. Michael Heiser himself. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. Yeah, that I was gonna say I'm not sure if there's like a Heiser avatar talking to you, but like they are advertising it in that way. And but anyway, the thing that Gans did was, I guess, just a personal thing of his own. Is he had been doing the same thing just on his own, just collecting Heiser's work and throwing it into some kind of a chatbot algorithm, I guess, and
Mhm.
using it for himself. But that's what his involvement was. I
Yeah,
guess he thought it was ironic.
Yeah, I did see okay, here we go. Here is Gonz's tweet here. Not surprisingly, I had already made my own isolated ChatGPT with all of Dr. Heiser's work. I did not make it public to respect his copyrighted work, but I'm glad to see Logos is using it and making it available. One day, all of this will be banned. There you go. Okay, yeah, he retweeted. Yeah, I will say this. I think a lot of it does come in it depends on the form in which it comes. It looks like, it's a product. You got to sign up. It costs money. They have a trial. I'm looking here. Try Logos for free. Logos, of course, is like a big, not a big company, but it's a series of Bible study tools and things and original languages and all sorts of stuff. So they're like a Bible study sort of company. I'll say this. I of course don't have a problem with it. Um, as long as his family is okay with it. I'm again the difference being if it's kind of presented as like talk to Mike, like here let Mike give you his thoughts on things. Let Mike, if they're doing it from like this is the voice of Michael Heiser, let him speak to you through this technomancy,
What if they
technomancy.
say here's an image? What if it's just here's an image of Mike, and get an answer from his work through this image? Does it
If
depend on the wording, or does it?
call it an image, or if they make like an actual like talking Michael Heist.
Well, yeah. If they, regardless, is what they call it. Does that change what it is?
You
Like, what's
know,
the difference between this and just going on the actual paperwork and typing in keywords of whatever it is that you're researching.
Yeah, well, that is the problem with all AIs, is once you start conversing with an AI as a personality, it just starts hallucinating. It starts coming up with, it will give you um the analysis that it thinks you want. So like, that's kind of what I'm like. If it's speaking as if it is Michael Heiser speaking, it could say all sorts of nonsense, and that makes I'm a little uncomfortable with, AI going on a hallucinatory sort of sycophantic approving of the user's theories, backed, backing it by Michael Heiser's research through the voice of Michael Heiser. That's just not a good product. Like, that's just a bad product right off the bat. And I don't know if I could or would want to make too many firm statements until actually maybe trying it out. Because I know what I do know is if I try it and give me 10 minutes to interact with the product, I'll know pretty much right away how I feel about it. If it gives me a weird feeling, if it's pretending to be Heiser, if it's like ChatGPT and just, uses Heiser material to confirm my own theories, like if it doesn't push back. This was the one thing about Mike. And for those who maybe are a little bit newer to us or don't know about our backlog, we were not going to say best buddies, but we're good friends with Mike. And, we spoke at conferences with him. We would have lunch with him. We had him on the show several times. He even came on the Joyspiracy Theory, which is my show that had nothing to do with like basically, hardcore biblical scholarship. And we just hung out and had a great time. He was very funny and grumpy on the show, but it was kind of part of the gag. And so where was I going with this? So when it comes to if this product, I'll know right away if this product's being weird about it, if it has the same flaws that say, a Chat GPT has, then I'm not going to be very stoked about it. I think there'll be problems there. But if they find a way to kind of just make it a little bit more of a powerful search product for Heiser's work, I don't think I would have too much of a problem with that. As long as the family's involved and stuff, and I think they are. I think it's his daughter who does most of his like social content stuff now. And so, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. What do you think?
I think that you're probably in a better position to, you know, make a statement on such a thing than me. But as Mike was a great guy, I can definitely vouch for that. Um, I uh, I followed him, like, I discovered him before I even discovered Face Like the Sun, and then
Yeah.
I didn't discover CCR until after Face Like the Sun. So anyway, um, yeah, so I've grown seriously attached to Heiser as well, and I owe him a lot. And a nobody, randomly reached out to him, and he responded to me,
Yeah.
and he was a really straight up guy. He was a really good guy, um, regardless of his views or whatever like that. He had a good heart,
Hmm.
and as an observer out here, the way that the excuse me, the way the company logos is advertising this. Remember advertisement, right?
Right.
Deconstruct the advertisement sales pitch here. It's just it did make I felt weird about it.
Yeah.
Immediately, like literally immediately, I thought of the Witch of Endor, and I remember like the Naked Bible episode, like, and I could of Heiser going through this, and it was actually one of the last things he did. He passed during the Book of Samuel, and I just imagined like because I'm interested also. I'm still interested in like how this is going to pan out, like what this thing actually looks and feels like.
Hmm.
But I just imagined him telling me like when Saul summoned Samuel, why like if I type in and ask this
Why?
GPT something, I hope
Yeah.
it just tells me that it's upset because I woke it.
Why have you awakened me? Right. Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I think, especially in the ways that we are informed and sort of uh, ready to keep an eye out for these things. I think that's a totally fair response, to this tweet that Mike's Twitter account shared, which I believe at least was controlled by his family. I have no reason to believe that it wouldn't be. It says, and get an instant answer from Dr. Michael Heiser's research. I want to give them, at least the person writing credit for avoiding the triggering phrase, like, get it straight from Mike, treating it as his personality. And the other thing is, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, Logos is a pretty good company. I mean, I came to know about it. I'm not a current user, but everything I know about it is from my relationship with Mike, and he only said good things about it to me. And so I want to give Logos, the benefit of the doubt, give them a chance. I'm also thinking of, on like an interpersonal level, like as a buddy. Unfortunately, Mike's passing away. He had a family and he was a provider for his family. And so I hope that Mike's legacy, you got to remember, when we first met Mike and started, building a relationship with him, he was the weird outcast just like us. It's funny to think now, because it wasn't until about 2020, maybe about 2018, that like people started, actually, like mainstream Christians started getting interested in the unseen realm, the more supernatural parts of Christianity. And it was in large part because of Mike. And he was a weird, kind of fringy guy back in 2012, 2013, 2014. He did single-handedly, have a huge impact on sort of regular Christians in America, which, you say regular Christians in other parts of the world, you go to Asia, Africa, South America, they're all supernatural, baby. Like, it's just built into those cultures. The supernatural is Christianity. But in America, the supernatural had been totally sucked out of mainstream Christianity. And Mike had, sort of single-handedly, not to say that he was the only one doing it, but he had a huge hand in changing that in America. And I credit him with where we are a lot today. I mean, it's on the lips of every single person on the internet now, talking about spiritual warfare, looking at the demonic spiritual warfare. This is what's going on. And I credit him a lot for that, for just helping to create the sort of Christian atmosphere that made that allowed and okay to do. And he did it all through legit biblical scholarship, not, some weird blog, not some, non-denominational theorizing, as so many things can be. So anyways, that's a lot of things to say. I want to stay hopeful that this product does only good for the legacy of Michael Heiser, and only good for the material well-being of his family. And I will need to use the product. I am also will be the first to come out and say I changed my mind about that, or at least I made up my mind, one way or another. Maybe Logos will give me a trial. Let's see here. Oh, try Logos free. Looks like I can get a free trial.
Well, see, another step to this that I also can't confirm, but I did hear from a reliable anonymous source that you apparently have to buy packages, like each of his works or something. So you buy the AI, and in order for it to know certain resources, you have to buy them separately, like DLCs or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll go in there and try it out. Maybe we can talk about it next week. Let's see what see what the experience was like.
Yeah, I would be interested. That would be
Yeah, no, let's do this ongoing. Looks like we can get a free trial. So maybe if you want to do it and I can do it, and we can come back next Thursday, talk about how we
Ooh,
feel about it.
compare notes. Excellent. We have
There you go.
a whole AI Heiser segment now.
Yeah, Logos better produce the show for this like explicit call to sign up for their free trial. I should be getting some sort of some sort of, what do they call it, affiliate code. That's it. That's what breaks the value for value model. It's Logos giving me an affiliate code. All right, buddy, thanks for calling in, man. It was great talking to
Yes,
you.
sir. Yep. God bless you. I'll talk to you.
God bless. Take it easy. Doobie doobie doob. Yeah, well, one thing is for sure is I would be very uncomfortable with the whole thing if Mike's family is not benefiting directly and generously from the thing. All right, we got another caller in the chat. It is Michelle. Michelle, how you doing? What's going on? What's on your mind?
Hi. I guess not a whole lot on my mind. Um, I texted a while ago. My son was asking about your VR headset.
Oh, the VR
If
headset.
yeah,
Oh, yeah. Oh, I totally forgot
he
about that.
started nagging me last week, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I got nothing.
You gotta
So
do it. You gotta nag. That's how you get what you want.
he's got 16 years experience.
Yeah. Well, good for him. Yeah. That is a good question. You know what how we should probably do that. So so let me think. I was just it's funny enough because I was just cleaning out the garage and I got rid of so much stuff, but I was holding that VR headset in my hand and I was like, I can't get rid of this. Uh, I totally forgot that, you had reached out. I'm like holding it like, you can't just throw away a VR headset like this. So here's what I think would be best. I'm totally down to donate it to him. I will say it is old. It is an old VR headset. I can't make any promises for how, what's the word? The uh, uh, interoperability, I guess, because it was from like 2020, I think, which I'm sure it's still supported. Anyways, I'm happy to do that. Maybe we can figure something out with Sir Ike, who can help us out with the logistics. I think that'll be the way to go.
Okay.
Yeah. He's your son's into gaming. Is that what's up? Is he going to start VR podcasting? I mean, maybe that's what needs to. Maybe I should be asking more questions here because it's kind of like Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. Maybe I should bring him on the show also in VR so that we can both get confused questions from the audience about why we're podcasting on the internet. Something like that.
He would probably thoroughly enjoy that. He's at work right now, but
At
yeah.
16?
Yes. He's working on getting his driver's license, and I refuse to let him drive my cars because I drive for work, and teenagers are known for totaling their first cars, so not going to let him do that to mine. So my mechanic sells cars, and so I bought him his car. I think it was like $2,000 or something, and he is working on paying me back for it. And
Hey,
so yeah,
that's
he's
good. That's
yeah.
good. I mean, it's kind of weird to think, but I mean, that's in my opinion, that's how all the most well-adjusted young people had to do it back in my day.
We're the same age. Yep.
Yeah, gotta learn some sort of responsibility or accountability when it comes to that stuff. So good for him and good for you. That sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah, and apparently his generation never wants to learn how to drive. They don't want
Yeah,
to do that, and I'm like, "Well, you don't want independence?" That idea is just lost on me, but
very
thankfully he's
foreign.
not that kid.
Yeah, well, I mean, do you have any insight as to, I don't know, there's stuff going on with, we're hearing, of course, a lot now about the young people's shift towards, eh, if not political conservatism, at least sort of a moral and ethical, or maybe even religious conservatism. Maybe anything with Charlie Kirk. I mean, what kind of insight can you give us to this generation?
Um, I I have not seen this conservative Christian shift in the youths. Um, but, like, I've only ever heard it come off of Canary Cry.
Okay.
But I'm in Colorado. It's a pretty blue state.
Uh-huh.
I am in Colorado Springs, which is, like, the only red part, but we just recently got our first liberal mayor, so, I don't know about that, but
Yeah, you don't see
yeah,
your son's friends begging to let him come to their new Bible study?
no. Um, and I've homeschooled him since he was 5, and it's been a little interesting because 'cause I'm a single mom, but, like, I refuse to send him to public school.
Yeah.
I was born and raised in a church. It's a whole situation, but now I'm, like, I don't know, borderline agnostic, like,
Mhm.
with Christian tendencies. And I'd be really interested to know why people later in life, like, weren't kids when they started going to church, but, like, maybe in their 30s or 40s, like, what makes them turn to Christianity? That's something, like, I've been trying to get answers on, but nobody can answer me.
Totally.
But anyway,
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm trying to get new Christians to call into the show, 'cause
I wish they would.
I'm fascinated with the same stuff. I don't know. We'll find out here.
Yeah.
I'm on a mission.
That's why I don't usually, I guess, watch or listen unless it's live to this, but I've managed to be home early from work enough today that I was able to catch it live, but, yeah, like, I listened to the last one, and I'm here for this one. I'm trying to find out, but, yeah, so I was homeschooling him, and then I sent him to a Christian private school for the ninth grade. He's in the 10th grade now. And they were some of the worst human beings I had ever interacted with in my life.
Yeah.
They all but kicked us out, and I became agnostic after that. Like, that was within the last, I don't know, 3, 4 months. But yeah, none of his friends, like, I guess he stayed friends with a couple of kids from that school, but all the rest of them are, like, I don't know, Wiccan or atheist or just whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I haven't seen that shift,
Yeah.
but,
Well,
um,
I'll tell you
yeah.
what, I mean, it's well known, at least around here, that the worst part of Christianity are the people.
Uh-huh.
You
Yes.
know, this is like I spent some time in a Christian school, very short time in a Christian school when I was maybe 6th grade, middle school, somewhere around there.
Mhm.
The school, I think, ended up shutting down, which is what put me into public school. But yeah, I can't really. It's part of the tough part, especially when I talk to, non-Christian friends. I get a lot like, "Oh, you're the only good Christian I know," and I'm like, I don't know how to feel about that, but I totally understand. They're like, "Oh, my aunt was Christian and she was so mean to me," and oh, my neighbors, lots of the pretty, I would say, not unexpected, kind of standard, kind of stereotypical interactions with kind of like the sort of nasty, judgmental, cranky Christians. I think that's a totally common story. And I'll tell you what, I don't know. Again, I owe my entire faith to just God figuring it out for me, because especially working in the church for so long, whoo dog it. I mean, that is one thing that I am not necessarily drawn to go back to in a very serious way, because goodness gracious, when being in any type of church leadership, you get pretty knocked around, both by people who maybe don't approve of your decisions, and people who just kind of want to use you as their sort of Christian punching bag. And I'm talking about other Christians, not even non-Christians, the Christians themselves coming at with the claws out. So I totally understand the thing. And the good news is that God's still working his magic, working his miracles in our lives. So I'll pray that some good however God wants to do it, give you some opportunity to try to give him a chance to redeem the people who have let you down, let us all down, really.
Yeah, my ex-fiance, he used to work in Hollywood. Um, like he's got an IMDb. Like he was
Oh,
in there. And he was big into drugs, and he was finding himself in a lot of trouble even for like Hollywood. He was going a little too hard. And so he got fired, and he left Hollywood and went back to, he was from Texas. And he went back to Texas, and he just started, I guess, living off grid. And one day he came home, and there was just a Bible sitting in his driveway. And he opened it up one day, and that was what changed his life.
hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, random Bible in your driveway. Yeah, I could see that being a life-changing thing. And like I had never been, I guess, into truth stuff until I met him. And like the way that the truth, like Genesis 6 or the Tower of Babel, like all of those things, like none of it made any, like it didn't fit to me
Yeah.
until he said, like, I asked, okay, well, what about the Tower of Babel? Like, I got kicked out of churches for asking the hard questions.
Mhm, yeah.
And one of them was about the Tower of Babel. Like, if they were that serious about it, then why did they just quit? And he showed me like all kinds of YouTube stuff. And that's how I found Gons back in, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, it feels like. It was a
Yeah.
long time ago. But that was like he answered it, and then it all made sense. And then recently, I guess it's just like, well, did the Tower of Babel even exist? Like, I wasn't there, I don't know. And
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I just started questioning things too much. But yeah, like
There's nothing
there's
wrong with that. Have you had any supernatural experiences?
um I mean, I know there's several times where I should have died,
Hmm.
but I mean that was, and I didn't. Like doctors were, how are you not dead? You've been internally bleeding for a week, whatever. But
Well, that's a start.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I won't tell my parents' testimony here, but have you spent much time? This is going to sound kind of self-serving, but have you spent much time listening to the Joyce Beersey theory?
I used to. I used to listen to it like every time a new one came out. And
Yeah,
then
back when it existed.
yeah, way back when. Like I'm an OG with the Canary Cry. Like I used to
You really
like
are.
the 30-minute things once a week, and then you go and do the Patreon or whatever it was
Oh,
for
wow.
another 30 minutes. You pay for that. Like I'm like that old.
Wow.
Um, but um, yeah, I used to, and then I was trying to go back to re-listen to some of them,
Hmm.
and only one shows up on iTunes
Oh,
anymore, at
geez,
least on
of
my
course.
iTunes.
They're always
So,
messing around with me like
like,
that. Let me go look. Yeah, again, like we've both expressed now, people coming to faith, especially later in life, not being born into it, is an absolute mystery to me. And I say that in like almost an excited way because it's happening. People are doing it. And to me, it feels mysterious. There has to be, I'm like, what in the world? And through my time talking with people, one of the recurring things is like, oh, I had this crazy supernatural experience. And it could be either, some sort of alien thing, a haunt, a sleep paralysis where the name of Jesus, really watching the sort of power in the name of Jesus activate, kind of really hold this sort of authority. I mean, that's a pretty common story. It's because the thing is, though, and a lot of people have made this mistake, seeking out supernatural experiences can be a bit of a dangerous thing to do.
Yes.
Because if you're trying to instigate some sort of scary supernatural thing, it will happen. You spend enough time looking, requesting something like sleep paralysis or some sort of spirit to come mess with something, or something presenting as a ghost or something like that, it will happen. And I don't recommend it necessarily, but here's the thing: God gets us all in the exact way that we need to get God. That's the one thing that I always have faith in. So whatever it is, and I don't know what it is, you might not know what it is, God knows what it is, but whatever that is, he's going to surprise you one day. And maybe even in the sort of the spirit of agnosticism, which often is, there are lots of things positive about the spirit of agnosticism versus some either less generous tendencies of a believer, or some sort of I don't know, weird thing going on there. But in the true spirit of agnosticism, being open to experiencing or seeing or hearing or being influenced or changed by however God wants to do that, I'm confident that it'll happen someday. And I do pray, I do hope, for your sake and my sake, that it is one of the fun, positive ones and not one of the scary ones. I hope you take that as a kind thing and not a weird thing for me to say, but
Yeah, it would be nice for it to be a kind thing rather than a scary thing. But sometimes people are so dense that it has to be scary. So
yeah. Well, would you mind maybe sharing a little bit more about what the sort of agnosticism means to you? Like how do you feel? How does that how would you describe that?
well, I don't really know. I guess because I was reading my Bible every day. I was going through studies of it every day. The amount of time I spent doing it varied. But yeah, and I don't know, I was just listening to, there's a guy, Mike Winger, who ever since the Charlie Kirk guy thing, ever since that happened, he's
Uh-huh.
gotten a little weird. But before that, Mike Winger, I was watching him every week and listening to you guys, and I guess, I don't know, is pretty well involved. My best friend was the wife of a pastor, and she moved to Illinois, but I guess we're still friends. We're just, 1,000 miles apart or whatever. And then I met somebody and we got to talking, and he hates Christians. And I'm like, well, not all Christians suck. Like, yeah, some of them do, but like not all of them do. And yeah, he was just, I don't know. I guess he was just spewing all this science at me, and I'm like, okay, but well, how do you explain this? Like the whole, like they found the um Lot's wife pillar of salt thing, they found her, and then like, and some of it, like they found the Shroud of Turin 500 times now. Like, how many times can you find the same thing? And so some of it, it's like, yeah, well, that's not believable. But then some of it is like, oh yeah, that's a thing. And then I'm pretty big into the um, like the Revelation and Ezekiel and all that fun stuff. And so I'm like, well, how do you explain, all of these things coming to pass that the Bible said were going to happen? And he's like, well, history repeats itself. And I'm like, okay. So like he's debunking everything that I have to say.
He has an
And
answer for everything. He has an
yeah,
argument for everything.
yeah. But like I don't know, I've experienced God, if that's
Yeah,
a good way to put it.
that's a
So I'm
perfect
like, well,
way to
it
put it.
can't, so you can't like get rid of the experience, um and then like I still like I don't know. I just when it like the number one way that I've heard people try to prove the gospels is word of mouth. And like that book by Lee Strobel, I can't think of what it's called, but he even like as a lawyer and researcher, like he's trying to disprove the Bible, and he goes and he talks to these professionals, and their best argument, which means Lee Strobel's best argument for proving the gospels, was word of mouth. And like the witnesses, and it's like, well, I wasn't there, so I don't know if these people are even real.
Mhm.
So it just, yeah, I guess there's just too many questions that
Yeah,
I guess no church was ever willing to answer for me, and
or even
he
able
brought
to.
them to the surface. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so
And
I,
did I hear you say that this is new, this within the past 4 months? Was that
yeah, give or take. Yeah,
okay?
this year.
So that's nothing. You're still you're just in transition, baby. I'll tell you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, and no, and that's why I say like agnostic with Christian tendencies, because it's
Yeah.
like I can still argue with myself. It's not even me arguing with other people, it's me arguing with myself. So
Well, I'm not. I'll say this, and most people know this about me. I am not anywhere close to even a good source for solid, the sort of apologetics that it sounds like was brought up that got you questioning these things. When I hear the questions that were brought up, it's a lot of this, sort of historicity of things, and kind of the scientific questions, or
yeah,
the this, the that kind of stuff.
yeah,
And I'm probably going to get in a lot of trouble saying this out loud, but I think the people whose hearts are in the right place are going to understand what I'm saying. And that's all that I can hope for. I'll tell you, when it comes to the science and the literal historicity of the Bible, that conversation has been going back and forth for literally
ever.
all of human history,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And the way that I understand this reality that we're in now is a lot different than I think I used to think about reality. I wouldn't say it's a, simulation necessarily, although I'll talk about mind of God simulation all the time, these sorts of things. But I will say for me, and this can get me in trouble with some people, I feel that my faith is at a point now where if every single word in the Bible was debunked, as far as close to certainty as the sort of human mind is able to land on in this form of reality that we're in. If that happened, which I don't believe will and I don't believe can, but if that did happen, it would change literally almost nothing with my what we'll call Christianity, with my faith, because the experience, not just, and I'm not saying the Bible doesn't matter. Listen up, folks. The Bible is the inerrant word of God. That's what I'm saying. I'm sticking with it. Not saying the Bible doesn't matter. Not saying that, whatever, the issues that atheists or whoever have with the Bible don't require or deserve a solid, response by talented and blessed apologetics experts. All that's true. But if I imagine a world where, whoever, the governments or the scientists or Billy Graham came out, or faith leaders or whatever, they go, we officially have the inerrant truth now that the Bible is 100% fictional. It would change almost nothing, not just with my relationship with the creator of the universe, his son Jesus, etc., the personal relationship with the sort of, talk about, being biblically accurate or not, they'll love to say how the Trinity doesn't appear in the Bible. Yeah, well, that doesn't actually necessarily have anything to do with one's relationship with what we would call the Trinity. Now, I don't know why this is the case with me. And that's why I so often have to return to, my faith is not from me. My faith is not from me figuring things out. It's not from me being so scientifically certain that I could sit down and, win a debate with Hawkins or something like this. In fact, it's so mysterious, the faith that I have, that it could only come from some sort of supernatural place. And, you can get into what is God, who is God. You can get into a very complicated sort of axiomatic way of describing what God is that we're experiencing, whatever. At this point, literally nothing, none of it would mean a lick to me. Now, I don't have a good explanation for why that is. I've come pretty much to the end of my ability to even describe this knowing and this feeling that I have. I think a lot of it comes from being in not just sort of an online community, but having many friends. Even when I was like in elementary school, I had this very strange friend named Kyle. This very strange, what's the word for it? What's the name for a kid who is like smarter than his age? I forget the word. Would have been cool if I remembered the word. But this very strange kid. And I remember being in like 5th, 6th, 7th grade, and this kid coming at me with like Dawkins level arguments, trying to prodigy. Thank you. Prodigy, is that? Anyways, with very well thought out, and to me sounded like genius level to me. And we would just kind of go back and forth. And early on, I had to come to this sort of conclusion that, the recognition that there are things we can all recognize, we all agree that there are things about reality that are significantly outside of our ability to explain, understand. We don't even know the things that we don't know, type of thing. And whatever the Bible is, because that's usually where the arguments kind of come to, trying to either prove or explain things about the Bible as if that, now again, gonna get in trouble, the Bible is the basis for our connection to the direct words of God. Correct. But if something happened and it was decided, and even if it was proven to me, to a degree that I couldn't say anything back, it doesn't get rid of this extremely mysterious aspect where the mystery of God is so beyond anything even the Bible is able to tell us. I mean, the Bible is what we are given, but we got to remember that God expands past the borders of the Bible as well. We have a very small brain and a very small ability to like understand the magnitude of what reality is constituted of and everything there. So we were given a book that helps us get closer to that. But we also have to recognize that God is so much bigger than even what could be fit in the Bible. I think it was John, even, it's in the Bible, that says, if I was able to write everything that could be written about God, I wouldn't, there's not enough, scrolls on earth. I'm paraphrasing here. So this is another reason why you and I have the same interest in what exactly is it that brings someone, especially a grown person, to a, active participatory faith, specifically in the Christian church, but in, kind of a much broader way, even expanding outside, like not even if the Bible was totally debunked, but if Christianity was totally debunked, like as an institution, I can pretty confidently at least say right now that at least the recognition that God is so big already anyways, it would kind of change almost nothing about my faith. I don't know if this is actually helpful, and I'm realizing they are giving me this opportunity to just sort of process outwardly, externally, about this thing that I've thought before and never actually been able to explain. So I'll let you, by the way, I don't expect my rambling here to like suddenly make you fall to your knees and give, get right with Christ or whatever. For all I know, you're already right with Christ. But from your perspective, does this mean anything? Am I making any sense?
Yeah, and I've been watching the chat too while you were talking, and there was something that you'd said about like if the Bible wasn't a thing or whatever, and it's like, well, yeah, and other people in other countries that never saw the Bible, like they still come to Christ. So
Yeah.
it's yeah, so it's like yeah, because somebody had said something about faith comes from the Word of God. But then also Genesis says that, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah,
It's
Jesus.
John,
So,
but yes,
yeah.
referring to the same thing. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, that logos, funny, logos comes up in two different contexts now. The logos, the word, that's just sort of our English word for it, but it's really this sort of ineffable, foundational existence itself, God being the thing or the person or the personality or the force or whatever, God is, without God, existence doesn't even exist. Like you boil it all the way down to like the most kind of irrefutable definition of God, and this is actually kind of part of agnostic sort of what's the word, apologetics. If you're going to find just the most axiomatic definition for what God is, it's the force that allows being to be. And if you want to boil it all the way down to that, it's impossible to not believe that God exists. The question then is, what do you do about it? How do you interact with it? How do you live your life with that knowledge? What do you seek to know next after that foundational, sort of agreement? So I say all this to say, I'm pretty confident that whatever God's got planned for you, it's going to be fun finding out later. It might not look like a traditional, church thing. It sounds, from what you tell me about your experience sort of in church and in the Christian community or tradition, it doesn't actually surprise me that you're at where you're at now. I think that's, kind of one of the most dangerous things about being a Christian is just being sort of in the establishment that is human Christianity on earth. And I mean this, and I think you'll take this the right way, but I'm looking forward to it, and I'll be praying that God really has some really fun plans to to bring you to whatever the like next phase or the next understanding of your relationship with Him is.
Okay, and I'll let you know.
Keep me posted.
Yeah, for sure.
And feel free to call in again too if you ever want to talk about it. Of course, you can send us an email, but honestly, I put out the call to talk to new Christians and like what is going on there. I'm realizing I'm just as curious as to talk with people in your position, because I think there's a group of people. I think you are right now the representative of that group of people who
I
are
don't like being a representative of much of anything.
who are looking around and being like, what do you mean more people are becoming Christian? What do you mean there's this like huge movement towards traditional Christianity? I just kind of came to this other place. Like, what is going on around here? This is a weird sort of, I don't know, sea shift or something. So I hope you do get to call in again. I'll appreciate, you don't feel like you need to have some big, impressive, I don't know, question or something to say. But, it's helpful for me.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Thank you so much. God bless you, Michelle. Can I call you Michelle, or am I calling you my shell?
My name is Michelle. My shell looks funner.
It's a great username. All right, Michelle. God bless you. Thanks for calling in. I hope you call in again.
Bye.
Bye-bye. That's fun. Thank you for calling, Michelle. Goodness gracious. That's the thing with this show, folks. When I think we're just going to come on and wing it, and I'm all nervous about going on with no plan, God's got everything under control. You got to remember that, especially as a podcaster. All right, next up we have, and yes, if you're out there and you have some big problem with my external processing of very vulnerable and private journey of faith that I am on, you can go ahead and save it. You're welcome to call in and talk about it with me if you want. I'd cherish the opportunity to keep working through that. All right, next up, we got Sir David G on the line. What is going on, Sir David G? How are you, buddy?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Nice shirt, bro. Cool shirt, bro. Oh, and hat. You're
I got a sticker on the back too,
bro. You're like a missionary, a Canary Crime missionary out on the road.
Oh, I'm fanboyed out right now, dude. I'm completely fanboyed out right now.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, bro. I love this show, man. That was such a great conversation you just had. It really was.
I loved it.
Props to her too for being so open and honest about the agnosticism, right?
Amazing.
I mean, it's kind of a tough place to come and admit that. But I feel like there's a pretty good group here of open-minded people who kind of understand the ebb and flow of faith.
That is a great way to put it. Yeah, I think you're right. Yes, I mean you come to a point in your maturity and faith where you kind of understand the sort of movement of that current, day in, day out, year in, year out. It's this sort of moving thing. And when it usually happens in groups or in certain sort of, I don't know, institutional contexts, or maybe someone who is not yet, in the flow, man. They're holding on a little tight. I also totally understand if people, feel a little intimidated or feel a little, I don't know, I don't think anybody would be offended, but maybe they feel some sort of resistance to that. And that's part of it, man. That's part of being a human with faith in the creator of the universe. It's has its ups and downs.
Yeah, man, it's all frequency, man. It's all frequency, bro. It's all energy, vibrations, man.
I
But it
deserve that.
is.
I deserve
No, no,
that.
no,
Yeah.
no, no. But I'm
No, I
being
hear you.
honest.
Yeah.
But it is, because like that's kind of the strange thing is my time being an electrician. I learned a lot about frequencies,
Mhm.
magnetism,
Yeah.
a lot of stuff like that, and you kind of see that kind of thing extrapolates out, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it, into reality and just life in general. Ups and downs, frequencies.
Yeah. It's
They
moving,
they
man.
have they have amplitude, and they have what's the I forget, anyway. But point being is that that's where I am in a way, kind of in line with what Michelle was saying. I'm not, the only thing that keeps me anchored and not being fully agnostic are those spiritual experiences that I've had,
Yeah.
right? And as much as I keep messing up and keep trying to push him away, like he won't let me go. And I don't understand it,
Yeah.
right? Like it's put me in a place to really, if the work he's been doing with me can be summed up in a word, it's humility. I mean,
Yeah.
every good thing, every bad thing has taught me humility lately. And I think when he said, be like little children, who is more
Yeah.
humble than a child?
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's the number one thing turning people away from Christianity right now, is the fact that people don't know how to be humble, or maybe they don't want to, or maybe they don't think that they need to be because they're chosen, or for whatever reason. I mean, there's a quadrillion reasons, right? But you see the same thing on the science side too. But
Mhm.
yet, the people who want to explain God away with science, what are they working with? Have they done all these experiments to try and disprove God?
Yeah. I mean, it's
You
kind of a
know, they're
silly, kind of a
they're going
silly
on.
idea in the first place.
Sorry, I'm picking up my daughter right now.
Oh yeah. No
Hello.
worries. Oh, good timing.
So, but I'll make the point real quick, and then I got to run. But
Yeah.
if the Bible is just some words on paper written by man, then how are the science textbooks any different? And why do they? So, for instance, the subject of dinosaurs, right? Now you have, I forget the man's name, he's a Christian scientist, discovered soft tissue on these old bones
Mhm.
that nobody can explain. If these bones are, millions of years old, why is there soft tissue on these bones that they're calling
Right.
dinosaur bones? And he's been marginalized and ostracized, and no journals really want to pick up any of his work because it threatens their narrative,
Yeah.
right? So that's what's going on in the spiritual battle. Everybody's got a story to tell and a narrative to push. You just have to ask yourself, which one do I want to believe? And which one at the end of it all, whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong, is going to leave me in a really good position.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, I mean, beyond that, what else do you really have? You're not going to prove any of this stuff. Nobody is. Nobody's
Yeah.
going to prove any of this stuff in this life. You just have to pick something and believe it and follow it with faith. And beyond that, it's just a lost battle, in my opinion. But what do
Totally.
I know? I'm just a big stupid dummy. So, you know.
No, that's great, man. I really appreciate you bringing that. That brings up so
No,
much for
sweetie.
me. I know you got to go, so I'll chat about it when
Yeah.
you take off. But yeah, God bless, man. I mean, that's the thing. We're in this
Uh-huh.
again. It is kind of. Anyways, I'll ramble more after I let you go. But I appreciate you
Yeah,
calling
man.
in. Buddy. Hope you do again.
I'm gonna run, but I'm gonna keep listening.
Okay, sounds good. Take
All
it
right,
easy.
thanks, brother. God bless.
You bet. God bless. Yeah, you know, that is kind of part. It's an interesting part. If we're just going to have a piece of this conversation, again, like I said, been Kyle, the like 7th grade weirdo that I was telling you about. Again, I actually love Kyle. Still know Kyle. Kyle actually just moved close to me, so I'm probably going to connect with him again. He's a little different in his older age, but you know, we were kind of had this weird, kind of cool sort of. I don't want to. Not trying to reference yin and yang as some sort of spiritual metaphor here, but we were kind of this odd couple, I'll say. You know, one thing that's interesting with the apologetics, I guess maybe not industry, but the thing is, you know, an atheist or agnostic, it's really easy. It's almost kind of embarrassing how easy it is to repeat the same old arguments sort of attacking the Bible, right? A lot of Christians, they get put in this position of sort of reflexively defending the scientific qualities of the Bible or the scientific truth, right? And on one hand, there's a lot of actually really impressive sort of apologetics for that. On the other hand, you're kind of letting the devil kind of choose the battlefield there. Because kind of like I said, and again, this is going to bug people, and I totally understand. Please understand that I know what you're feeling if you are bothered by this. But even if every word in the Bible was somehow scientifically disproven, it doesn't make God any less real, doesn't make Christianity any less see even using these words like real. What I find more interesting in a conversation like, you know, I would have with Kyle, she would go, well, a donkey can't talk. There's never been a recorded donkey who's ever talked. You know, this is a classic, at least for child atheists trying to prove the Bible wrong. This is an easy one. There's a talking donkey in the Bible, okay? Has science ever recorded a talking donkey? No? Oh, well, there you go. Win the argument. But if we turn that back around on science, you know, it's very interesting. Science is a continuous process of failing to understand things. That's essentially what science is. Now, a good agnostic or atheist will recognize this and kind of work this into their conversation. But unfortunately, a lot of people, they're coming at it from an angle that it's like the Bible versus science. Very similar to like the ideation in the media or in the world that like it's God versus the devil, that they're like eternal enemies and they're fighting each other, and sometimes the devil kind of gets ground, oh then God comes back, and it's this struggle. Now any sufficiently mature faith will understand this. Our simple brains, the simple sort of narrative that the world needs to manage the perspectives of 8 billion people or 9 billion people requires these sort of contrived battles. Bible, science, God, devil. When we all know the truth of it is that the God and the devil are not, they're not like enemies fighting each other. God is all things. Not saying you can worship the trees or the dirt. I'm gonna get the comments. My the rock in the garden is not God, but existence is made possible by God. Everything exists because of God, including the devil. Now, because that is such a big concept, it is so mysterious and inconvenient to try to communicate because it's too big. And thus, our tiny human brains require the God versus devil battle, because that's all we really understand. We can really only hold like two opposing forces of equal size and weight fighting each other. It's how we make sense of a lot of the world. But that's just a mechanism of sort of our tiny brains. That's not rooted in truth. And so I find when a lot of these conversations of, science versus the Bible or whatever, you're really just sort of playing in a sandbox. That's not a battlefield. That's a sandbox. You're a couple of toddlers throwing sand at each other in a sandbox when the reality is infinitely outside of that sandbox. But a toddler can't comprehend a continent. They can only really comprehend the sandbox right in front of them. A toddler cannot be mad at a toddler across the country. A toddler can only be mad at the thing in the sandbox with it. Sometimes it's another toddler, sometimes it's a bucket. And so God bless all the apologetics people out there. Gon's significantly more talented sort of apologeticist than I am. Spent significantly more time. Interestingly enough, Gons also became a Christian in his adult life, which I think there's something to say about apologetics when it can be a part of somebody's salvation as an adult. I mean, that's undeniable. So I'm not even saying apologetics is useless or not needed or something, but it goes back to what I said before. There is nothing that could be proven or disproven to me by any human. Now, if God shows up, if God has, something to tell me, if God gives me some sort of thing, I can't even imagine what that would look like. I don't know, a vision but more, whatever. However, in the most, unimaginable encounter that I could have with God, that's one thing. But there's no single thing, a human or series of things that another human being could possibly say or prove to me that would change anything about my direct experience with God through the faith that he has given me. I don't take credit for that. I don't know how to get anybody there. I don't know how to convince you of that. I don't even know, obviously, how to explain it very well. But this is why we get to rely on God for these things. All right, we got another caller. Look at us. We're doing a whole thing. Okay, hour 40. We're fine. We're going. Calling in. We got the Russian handler calling in. How are you, comrade? You're on the show.
Could be better, could be worse.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, sometimes that's all we can ask for.
Okay, that caught me off guard.
Sorry.
I just was gonna say in response to Michelle.
Uh-huh.
I grew up in the church, but I've definitely been in the place of God, I love you, but I don't want to have anything to do with your people.
Yep.
But I'm coming back around to. I guess it depends which people.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. I hear you. I totally hear you.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's, again, like I said, coming from somebody who's never not been around Christians, in my whole life. It was, I think there's a process. There's an interesting process, and I'm sorry, Michelle, I'm not trying to make you the sort of focus of everything here, but we look. There's so much love for you. There's so much love, and there's so much understanding. That this is just a part of what it's like to be a human trying to reconcile the knowledge of something infinitely mysterious and bigger than us and our direct experience on earth here. And I think it's okay sometimes for, if our faith is reliant on us having good answers to to opposing questions. Like, if our faith is based on our ability to explain with enough eloquence the answers to challenging questions, it's just not good enough. I'm not saying it's bad. In fact, it is good, but it's not good enough. That's not where God wants us, I mean, that's part of it. That's part of our whole lifetime of reconciling ourselves to God. It's certainly not important, but it certainly can't be what everything hinges on. And so I actually think that it's something that everybody kind of goes through, and I think it's good. And I want to make no presumption. I'm not trying to tell Michelle how I think she should come out of this or what it should, look like. But I'm very happy that the subsequent callers and the chat and myself, we seem to be a pretty understanding group of people. And I see that as a sign of sort of maturity and faith. Like you, our Russian handler. Where would we be without you?
Yeah, no, God is not going to get offended by you asking questions that we Christians think uncomfortable, and it's not going to surprise him. Whatever question you have, you can just straight out, if you're mad at God, you can tell God, I'm mad at you, and he's not going to get offended. You're being honest with where you are at, and he'll meet you where you are.
Amen. All the greats were mad at God at one point or another. Moses, Abraham, Jonah, Job, all the disciples, they all, I think, had this sort of moment where the cultural or the scientific or the human explanations of things, of God or of faith, just weren't enough, and it cracks. And then that's when you really get to let God work on your faith for you. That's the fun part, is he fixes the car. We don't fix the car.
True.
Yeah. I heard, were you at the Missouri meetup?
I was.
How was it? Was it fun? Did you meet some Canarians?
It was so fun. I needed 3 days to recover. So
party on, Wayne. Well, that's good. That sounds fun. How are you feeling? Are you recovering okay from your recent challenges? I hope you don't mind me asking.
No, it's okay. I have complications which are genetic, apparently, and it's just waiting for the right treatment. And so far, neither of the treatments was right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we're still praying for you. Goodness gracious, God must be doing something over there. And we'll keep the producers on the job.
Well, thank you. That's one job you're never going to be out of.
I know. That's the fun part about it.
Yeah. No, I was going to say something else, but I don't remember what it was.
Oh, nuts. I just distracted you by my questions and my approval. It always happens.
Yeah,
well, no problem. Feel free to call back in if you want.
Sure thing.
You have to be like me. You got to write.
Does Gons ever listen to the call-in, or does he just supervises the
I think he does. I never ask him if he does, but I think he does often listen to it, because he'll make comments or something.
All right. Well, Gons, if you're listening, I do appreciate taking time talking to my children on the phone during meetup. Made their day. Thank you.
Amen. There you go. I'll make sure he hears that one. Yeah, that was the fun one. Gons called into the Missouri meetup and got to chat with you guys for a while. I'm unfortunately wasn't able to do that, but I'll need to make a little bit more of an effort next time, because part of the fun part is hearing other Canarians having fun meeting each other. It's important stuff, folks.
Okay, well, don't go waiting on me because I'm awkward. So
No, you're
there's not a
perfect.
color.
Thank you so much. You're my Russian handler. We appreciate it, comrade, and looking forward to talk to you again.
Alrighty.
You betcha. Take it easy.
Okay.
Always great to hear. Always great to hear. How would we possibly maintain status as Putin's puppet if it weren't for our Russian handler? Okay, here we go. Last on the list, we got Sir Darren out of the Hungry Panda calling in. Let's see what's up. Sir Darren, how are you, buddy? Thanks for calling
Hi,
in.
Basil. You've had a great conversation today.
I think so. I'm excited.
Yeah, the teeth thing got me going, man.
What
I love that.
what a crazy, what a crazy set of conversations. Again, God's in
I
control
actually
here,
liked
folks.
I actually liked going to the dentist growing up.
Why?
I'm weird like that. I didn't have a bad experience ever, so I just
Oh.
enjoyed it, and then my teeth were cleaner afterwards. So it was just I just enjoyed it. I knew people didn't like it, but I never found it hard. I also it was funny. I had my wisdom teeth pulled out, and when they did, I woke up in the middle of it. I was all groggy, and I could feel them like pulling on my teeth, and I'm like, yeah, and I kind of mumbled like, "You guys are pulling really hard."
Oh no, I don't like this at all.
It was fine. I don't remember any of it, but and then like the experience afterward was pretty funny too. Like I got really mad because I wanted ice cream really badly. So like I had told my mom like, okay, I want soft serve ice cream after this for the pain and everything. And she like, I'm under medication because they really had to drug me because I guess I was resistant and I was still kind of loopy and stuff. So she like drives me to the grocery store to get ice cream. And I just like lost it because I'm like, this is not the right stuff.
You're upset that it was the wrong ice
And
cream?
then my brother, he saw me and stuff. It was hilarious experience. I'll have to go into it another day.
Was that before everybody had camera phones and took videos of their embarrassing relatives hopped up on dentist drugs?
It was fortunately,
Lucky you.
But yeah, it was good. And then I had the swollen cheeks, and actually after the drugs sort of wore off that day, I went out later that day to a movie with friends, and they gave me all a hard time. I had the big swollen cheeks and everything.
Chipmunk Darren.
Yeah, the chipmunk.
Darren.
Yeah, I looked like I had food stuffed in my mouth.
That's so funny. Luckily, I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to take them out. I got a big mouth and tiny teeth, so everything fit fine in there.
Real quick, I thought it was interesting. I love too where the discussion. I thought it was so interesting that you were wanting to talk to potentially new believers, but I thought it was very interesting that someone like Michelle who called in about a VR headset and then started to talk about her sort of journey she's going through. And it made me think, maybe even people who are not Christians should be calling in and just saying like, here's where I'm at in my life.
I thought the same thing. We have a number of self-proclaimed atheists and agnostics who listen to the show regularly. I don't know if they tune in on Clubhouse or not. But yeah, I mean, that is just as interesting for me as far as like data gathering operation. That is very fascinating. In a way, it's like a similar, I don't know, in kind of a weird, mysterious way. It's kind of a similar process or a similar, I don't know, place, this sort of transition of faith in one way or another. Again, like I think it was Sir David said, it's just part of the sort of ebb and flow of faith that everybody goes through. But yeah, if any of the agnostics or atheists who listen to the show regularly, or maybe even not regularly, feel free to call in on Thursdays. I want to talk to you.
Well, and so one thing that I thought was really interesting was, and I just wanted to kind of put this out there too, like, especially for Michelle, if she's listening, it's not wondering like why I've never heard from God or anything or seen God in my life is not an abnormal place to be. I think that every Christian's even experienced that
Yeah.
at some point. But it was interesting. We were talking a lot about faith in the conversations. And one thing I think I just wanted to remind was the fact that for me, my faith is the author and finisher of my faith is a person, and that person is Jesus Christ.
Right.
And that's like you were trying to say too, the Bible, you know, none of us can really sit down and say, oh, I can prove the Tower of Babel, or, you know, maybe if you're a historian, you want to try, but that's not really what our faith is in. Our
Right.
faith is in the person of Jesus Christ and his relationship to us.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes we, you know, we almost get hyper fixated on, well, if I can't, you know, explain this or explain that, then I don't, you know, how can I have faith in a God who I don't know if he exists or anything. And then, you know, another is that people will sometimes, you know, like she mentioned going to church, you know, churches put so much emphasis, they'll say the word faith, faith. Oh, if you have faith to move a mountain, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like the size of your faith matters or something.
You got to have faith.
But
You got to have
yeah.
more faith. Yeah.
Well, it just reminded me of this thing somebody anecdotally once said about how, because she was talking about her kid with his car, like he's going to get a car. And so somebody was saying, you know, well, imagine if you were like driving down the road in this fancy sports car, right? And you're just zipping down the road. And this is like, you know, one of those foreign cars and everything. And you just find yourself, you're like enjoying it. You're riding as a passenger. And the driver says, what a clutch. Like, do you feel the power of that clutch? That clutch, oh my gosh, it has so much power. And you would be like, what are you talking about? What is that? What are you talking about? That clutch has so much power.
Right.
The clutch has zero power. The clutch is only, the power is in the engine. And the clutch is transferring that to the wheels of the car.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the same way, our faith is in something that has power, because Christ has power in and through us. But if we are just focused on, you know, we can just get so focused on something that isn't the faith that our faith is supposed to be in. Well,
yeah,
you know, all these other things. Like she said, she had a friend who, you know, was saying, well, you can't prove this in the Bible, you can't prove that in the Bible. And that's actually very correct, that a lot of in the Bible is not necessarily, you know, buzzword or trigger word for some, but I guess, but like scientifically provable.
right.
But it's that way, honestly, for a reason, because
Exactly.
our faith is not in scientific provability. Our faith is in Christ alone, what he did for us. And the Bible is the story from the beginning to the end. The end is the future of what he is going to do for us, the completed work for us, which will be amazing because we'll be out of this place.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah. No, that is, I mean, that's excellent, man. Yeah. It's so hard to, I mean, of course, we got all sorts of people who watch and listen to this, and I've taken the beatings over many years for, you know, saying things in certain ways that, you know, of course, trigger people. I think is very interesting how there's certain sort of triggers in Christians as well who just can't hear the sort of spirit of what we're trying to say about this sort of thing. But that's such a good point, right? I mean, like you said, I mean, the point of the Bible is not that it's historically or scientifically accurate. You know, you don't go, hey, why do you believe in the Bible? Well, because every single word is proven as scientifically true and historically confirmed by 3 other sources. That's why I believe the Bible. I mean, people might say that, and they might have the information maybe that satisfies that for them, but in the end, that's not why. That's like not what the Bible is to us. That's not what it should be to us. Like you said, yes, the person of Jesus is the point. And even, we say person of Jesus because that is, how we understand what God did and sending his son. And, these are the ways in which we understand the situation that God has brought us to. But yes, I always thought it was funny because like I said, it's just missing the point. If someone's trying to disprove the Bible, I think it's a mistake for us to get a little bit too tricked into playing on that battlefield. And again, there's lots of influences, whether it might be our church or whether it might be our online community or our favorite pastors or something like this, that really put a lot of emphasis, put a lot of work into presenting the Bible in a way that is acceptable to the logic of the human mind. And I think a lot that helps a lot of people's faith. I think that gets a lot of people's faith going. I think that gets, that some people's, we need that logical reasoning to open up our eyes, open up our heart. But then our faith moves past that. Our faith, God brings us into his mystery through the explanations of what he's given us.
Well, one of the things too, is that there's a difference too with the Christian life of religion versus the Son. Like, Jesus said in John that to the Pharisees, he said, "You diligently study the scriptures because you think that by them you possess eternal life."
Right.
And he says, "These scriptures that testify about me, yet you refuse to come to me to have life."
Yep. Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah. And again, it's like, I mean, I don't know what, again, like Michelle's experience was in church. I mean, I'm sure that I've had all kinds of different experiences. I mean, I know a lot of people too, where I've known so many Christians who, man, I'll tell you, when I get to know their personal lives, I go, huh, okay, well, we're all on a different journey in our faith, right? Because it's easy to see the sort of the fruit that they're producing and go, oh, that's interesting to claim you're a Christian.
Oh, bro,
the way you,
the
right?
worst people I have ever known, the people who have, excuse me if this is inappropriate for some people, the people who have screwed me the worst in life, every single one of them have been not just Christians, but like people who I would have, had admiration for their faith or their works or their whatever, maybe even status in church or whatever. The people who have been caused the absolute worst chaos and pain in my life. Every single one of them has been not just a Christian, but, someone close to me who I admire their faith. They were some sort of, in one way or another, some sort of, spiritual mentor to at least somebody, if not me personally. Every single one of them. So if anybody understands the sort of, on one hand, the hypocrisy of Christians being terrible to each other and to others, I mean, yeah, that happens all the time. It's horrible. But also, for me, coming to the realization of the hypocrisy of holding other Christians to some sort of standard above other sinners, for me, has also been a very interesting part of my journey.
Oh, you broke out.
For me to, hold some other Christian to higher esteem above, the rest of the sinners is hypocritical on my part. That's a misunderstanding of me to be, expecting more of literally any other human than the worst sort of fallen nature that is guaranteed for, each person. We, in the church, again, this is another time where believers and non-believers talk past each other. Non-believers are under the impression that Christians think they're better than everybody, or Christians think they're not sinners and everybody else is sinners. And Christians, at least the real ones that I know, are the ones going, no, what we're saying is we are the worst. We are the worst sinners of all. Just like, who was it? Peter, Paul, I think, says, I am the worst of all the sinners. And that's the point. And so for me to be like, surprised or, so unbelievably flabbergasted that some other Christian was like the worst person I've ever known, is a lesson for me. Now, that might be a little bit of a, but pessimistic, you could put that in a pessimistic light. But for me, it's very humbling. It's very, not only humbling for me personally, but humbling corporately to be a part of a group that calls themselves Christians. We, should try our best to be humble, not just personally, but also in community with each other. And, I'm sure the next person to absolutely tear my heart out is going to be a Christian too. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know that because I can definitely be just as guilty of that because I don't know. I don't want to joke about this, but I have like talked to people. I'm like saying, sometimes I wonder, like, am I on the spectrum or something? Because I do get a little like, it's got to be the right thing or else it kind of bugs me really a lot.
Yeah,
So
right.
anyway, I don't know, but
No, I know.
I don't know that for sure, but yeah, but we just kind of, we can definitely get that way. But yeah, I just want to sort of reiterate that I think sometimes we can talk about faith and talk about, oh, how do you come to faith, and what's the best apologetics. But again, I think that it's telling people that we have a relationship with a person. It's like you and me talking right now. We are in relationship. We're not dating, guys. Just
what a twist
somebody will
that
take
would
that
be.
out of context, right?
The scandal of the century, Canary
Jesus.
Cry scandal.
I'm sorry I said that. Anyway. But yeah, we're in a relationship. Two people in a ship are in a relationship, and that's what we have with Christ. And the relationship with Christ is unlike any relationship you have with any other person. And that's why, we can't just say, well, this person did this to me, this person did that to me. I remember too, actually, I very recently heard about somebody who, they were telling me a story of someone they knew, how this person was like the biggest, like they were like, this person was so connected to the Lord. Their faith was amazing. They were so, rock solid. And then apparently their child just recently died. And they said their world has been rocked because what they come to find out was this person was very much my faith in God is like a genie relationship where if I ask for something, I get it. And this, where their child now has died, has completely upended what their faith is.
Yeah.
And so again, it's like, what is our faith in? Is our faith in what the Bible says who God is, or is it in, what religion says God is, what the church says? That cannot be our anchor of faith. Our faith must be in the person of Jesus Christ. and that because that's what he wants.
Yep. Amen. Amen, brother. What a fun, mysterious path that God has chosen for us. That is, like the Bible says, seems foolish to the wise of this world. I mean, that's the whole point. Says right there, hey, everything that you are coming in contact on your journey with faith and God is basically nothing but foolishness. It's supposed to be that way. And so, we get the opportunity to re-examine every time the sort of topography of our faith. What is the geography of it? What is it constituted of? What is it made of? Where does it come from? And what sort of things can we feel affected? I think that's always a very interesting thing for me when something bad happens, or I don't know, something out of the ordinary really sends life in that one direction. It's a good opportunity to kind of sit and feel like, how is this affecting my faith? What is this changing in me? Does this change anything? We can look for explanations like, why is this bad thing happening? Or what does this mean for my belief in God, or something like that? And honestly, for me, the best answer has been, after all of that, is I don't know. I don't think anything. It's this. My faith seems to be this sort of almost like this own. I don't know. I can't. It's just its own thing. It's very interesting. And I thank God for that. I don't know if that's, I don't have any theological argument for that, but that's my experience of it, and I'm sticking to it. Sir Darren, thanks for calling in, buddy. Really appreciate it every time you have so much to add to the conversation, buddy.
Welcome. I think that this week it kind of cooled off, but next week we should talk about the digital ID stuff, because that seems like it's a big can of worms about to be unleashed.
Yeah, it's interesting because of course, we've mentioned it on the show, and I'm just like, yeah, here it is. Here's the thing. Oh, somebody just texted. And this is a good example of, why Guns and I just can't help ourselves sometimes, except to like think back on the old days and try to tell people to go listen to the old episodes. 717 texted and says, whoa, I'm re-listening to CCR 16 and you guys totally predicted the pandemic. Yeah, I know. And that's kind of how we feel, is how I feel about the digital ID too. Starting around 2020 is when I started going, oh my gosh, it's all happening. I can't believe it. It was all just like crazy tinfoil hat, almost recreational before this, and then it all started happening. And then when I saw the announcement from Keir Starmer about the digital ID, just like, okay, kind of already know everything there is to know about this. I'm asking God, like, what am I supposed to do here? Is this another opportunity where we go dig up everything we've ever laid out about this? Is that even helpful? I don't know.
It is interesting. It reminds me a lot of like, it's like people who go through boot camp, they get this little bit of like, oh, I can't wait to see action feeling. Yeah, and totally. I think that's like what the early days of Canary Cry were like. It was like all this sort of knowing that it was the battle was eventually going to come. We were training for the battle and getting prepared, but we still had no idea what the actual battle experience would be like.
Yeah.
And so now we're kind of, I guess I would say maybe we're either in the battle or we're on the beaches and about to storm the beaches.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think the practical lessons that we all learned during COVID too. I mean, thank God for that little run through, honestly. Because, like we and a lot of people were saying with COVID and the, passports and things like that, it's like, this isn't over. I mean, this is hopefully you learned whether or not you gave into the pressure or didn't give into the pressure. Either way, hopefully you learned your lesson, because it's going to happen again, and it's going to be worse. You got to practice saying no to the world. This is a big part of just of being a human, but especially about being a believer, or someone who is aware of the bigger, broader sort of spiritual battle going on. You got to practice saying no to these things, because every time it comes back, it's going to be harder and harder to say no. And
Yeah.
the digital ID, thank God, I mean, hear me right here. Thank God it hit the UK first and not the US, because we get to, kind of not sit back, but we're not on the front lines necessarily physically having to respond to it. But we will. The day will come, and it'll come sooner than we think.
Yeah, and I think that we need to also learn the lessons from that time period of taking account of maybe how we acted, where we're like, ooh, I could have maybe changed that and done something differently, because it was not easy. I mean, it was very stressful. I had to work through the pandemic, and I even, I didn't want to necessarily be a jerk to people and just get in their face. Because, I went to the store at one time and I saw this dude wearing the white lab coat with like scribbles all over it saying, science, blah, 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 blah. Like he was just not going to wear a mask, period. And he looked kind of like a crazy dude. And I was a little bit fearful for what he might do if he was, really pushed far enough. So I think that's where it's like we need to evaluate what things are we taking the right stand for, and then what things are we maybe getting on a soapbox. Because I do know I had people who uninvited me to things during the COVID because of like, oh, well, you don't have the shot. Well, we're too worried about XYZ.
Yeah.
We all have it. So we're politely going to ask you not to come.
Yeah.
And so that was an experience of like, huh, okay. I'm not sick. I've been in my house this whole time. Sure. That's your choice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I feel a little bit convicted about the glee that I feel when it comes to like, Trump kind of locking in by force on some of these things going on around the country. Of course, and I've talked about it several times now, been very vulnerable about my mixed feelings about it. But that is one of the things that I'm a little reticent about, because it's like, okay, well, now let's imagine that that's the kind of authority and force getting directed against people who are whatever. I mean, there's going to be a reason. That's the thing with the US, is it's not going to just work to be like, oh, y'all need digital ID so we can fight immigration. Trump's already proved that you can fight immigration without doing anything else. You just do it. But there's going to be something. I'm calling it right now. I don't know if it'll be previously it was, of course, the vaccine. You got to get the vaccine so you can get your passport, so you can live your life. There's going to be some way that they're going to hold us hostage. There's going to be some hostage situation, where you can't work or you can't do this, but it'll be because the digital ID proves that you're safe in one way or another. And you just got to be ready and prepared to be not considered safe. And that's hard. That's a really hard thing to wrap your head around, is especially when the people not considering you safe is not just like the government or strangers, but your own family. And, I don't know if it'll be like a sickness thing, but it scares me to try to imagine what else it could be.
I think that's a great way to say it, that you just said, because that made me think of exactly my experience during COVID, of where I tried as much as possible to be the safest, not safe person around everybody that I was engaging with, because a lot of them were like new in their minds, it was like, you're not safe.
You're not safe. We were forced to prove that we were safe.
But
because
everything else
we
that I
didn't
did
have the
was
proof.
safe.
We had to prove it ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I remember them trying to get me to sign things at work, like the daily chart of like, you have to sign this to say you're not sick. And I'm like, yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, wow. I know. That's tough to do, man.
It was an interesting thing. It was basically somebody, because there's always one person in the office came up to me because everybody had kind of already just done it. And they came up to me kind of saying, hey, we're supposed to do this thing. It's required by the state. It wasn't just a federal thing, like the state was mandating it. And I just went, okay. And then I just kept working. And the next few days, a lot of people kind of just stopped doing it too, because it just took the one person to gently not do it.
Totally.
Because if I just know that if I had gotten in somebody's face, it was actually going to probably prove the point more that you should be doing it.
Yep. Yeah, no, you don't want to, because again, if you start screaming, shouting, or trying to make a point, you're unsafe. You're unsafe again, It's
I don't know, like a lot of people in this community, maybe whether or not, they're like concealed carry holders or anything like that, but that's kind of what you learn the mindset of is, you're not going to bring out the most aggressive stance right away.
Right.
You got to save that for the moment that it is the most important, because a lot of times you are now in the situation of you've just escalated things. Like, if you're going to escalate things, be ready to escalate things to the maximum rather than just I'm upset and I don't like what you're doing.
Yeah, for anybody who's ever taken their CCW or really any sort of firearms class, 90% of the class is telling you not to use the class, not to escalate things, not to pull it out, because again, it's very easy to escalate unnecessarily, and it goes back to again, people who are sort of in that subculture or in that list of authorized firearm carriers, usually conservatives, and generally, just to speak in political terms, generally conservatives, or the groups that constitute sort of that group, they think of violence as a switch. It's either on or off, whereas generally the left considers violence as a dial, where you turn it up, you turn it down, you do these things. And so that's why you see so many on the left, especially young people, who have no problem sort of turning up this dial of violence. And because they didn't turn it up to 10, they feel justified to turn it up to 8. We can turn the violence up to 5. Whereas, most responsible people or conservatives, it's like, no, violence is either on or off. I mean, especially in consideration of the law, is mostly violence is just a switch. It's either on or off. But when it's on, baby. Don't turn it on until it's time. And I think that sort of mindset will, we're seeing what the dial metaphor for violence is doing right now. We've seen it since, the summer of love, 2020, turning that violence up and down, keeping it at a low simmer, keeping it at a 3 for going on 5 years now, occasionally turning it up, is an extremely dangerous place for people to be. You're heated. You're just already heated. But keeping the switch off until it's absolutely necessary, that's how you run a society, folks. Let's keep that in mind.
Well, for some reason, there's something too with, especially like going forward as Christians, that always rings in my mind is like Revelations 13:10, where it talks about, if anyone is to go into captivity, they will go. And if anyone is to be killed with the sword they will be called. And it says this calls for patience and endurance and faithfulness on the part of God's people, the saints. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
I
jeez.
don't like that at all.
Yeah,
That like
yeah.
goes against, even my primal instincts of like, defend, the family and my own.
Yep. No,
So
that's exactly right. I mean, that is the carnal nature. That is sort of that's our fallen sort of instincts are exactly that. And that's why, again, the word of God is so mysterious. It's hard to make earthly sense of it sometimes, but
all
that's
right. Well, I
kind of,
used up tons of your time now.
no, you're good, man. Thank you so much for calling in.
All right.
Wonderful things to add to the conversation. Really appreciate you. I'll talk to you next time, buddy.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You bet. Bye. All right, folks, there you go. Nailed it. I want to give a shout out. Let's see. Did anybody join the text message alert system? I'm going to go like this. I'm going to pop over. Did anyone join today? No, nobody did. Oh my gosh, it's the same number as before. Come on, folks. It's possible that everybody watching right now is already on the list. But if you're not, join the Canary Cry text message alert system. Save this number in your phone. Text the word canary to 877-740-3226. You'll get a notification when we go live. The fun part is you can text us back at that number. I read them. I love them and want to hear from you. So text the word canary to 877-740-3226. And remember that call-in link in the description, I am told, doesn't change. It'll be the same. Let's see here. 337 texted and says Basil can't complain about Gons talking about crypto anymore. ... dental care. Yes, my new mission is making sure everybody knows the truth about dental care. 678 says just made my first batch of non-Nephilim pickles from the cucumbers on the supply drop. Also, the squash are suspiciously giant. Dum dum dum. They sent a picture of a jar of pickles. See that, folks? Now's a great time to get on the supply drop because we got good stuff coming up, fourth quarter, Canary Cry calendar, etc. You know it, you love it. But the spring supply drop always has our Canary Cry non-GMO seeds, gardening stuff. And I'm very proud of everybody who can actually make stuff grow because I apparently have a hard time doing that. 954 says Trump declared war today on the Day of Atonement. It's biblical. Oh, yeah, it is Yom Kippur today. Forgot about that. War on drugs. Trump declares war on cartels. U.S. enters non-international armed conflict in extraordinary escalation. 2nd of September. Okay, we'll probably dig into this on the show, but that's on Monday. That's many days away. So let's see if we can, oopsies. No, go back. There we go. Trump declares war on cartels. U.S. enters non-international armed conflict in extraordinary escalation. Donald, this is from the Daily Mail. Donald Trump has declared a war on drug cartels and notified Congress that the United States is now engaged in a non-international armed conflict. The extraordinary escalation by the president follows a series of recent strikes on drug smuggling vessels operated by terrorist organizations in the Caribbean. They do put terrorist organizations in, as our UK friends would call it, inverted commas. Trump's declaration is intended to place an ironclad legal framework around the military action. According to international law, a country may kill enemy fighters even when they pose no threat and detain them indefinitely without trial. Is that true? Is that international law, or is that's just America? In a confidential memo sent to lawmakers on Thursday, the president calls the cartel gangsters unlawful combatants whose actions constitute an armed attack against the United States. It follows a closed-door Senate Armed Services Committee briefing on Wednesday, during which the Pentagon officials addressed lawmakers' concerns over the legality of the strikes. The president's notice uses language from international law, non-international armed conflict, which refers to war with a non-state actor. Oh, yeah, baby. Let's go. We're going to Afghanistan again. Quote, the cartels involved have grown more armed, well-organized, and violent, the memo added. Quote, they have the financial means, sophistication, and paramilitary capabilities needed to operate with impunity. It follows complaints from the Democratic lawmakers that strikes, including 3 deadly attacks on drug traffickers last month, are unlawful under the War Powers Act, which requires the consent of the chamber for military action. Okay. We're at war, baby. We're at war with the cartels. I don't know how this changes anything. It sounds like it's just an excuse or explanation, perhaps, for the things already going on. I don't know how this is going to change things, but it is interesting how this declaration gets made during Yom Kippur. That is very interesting. Going into the recent scapegoat conversation and extending that all the way to the antimony conversation. But during the shutdown, the government shutdown, which suspiciously, although rhetorically the Democrats love to complain about, really they just opened the door wide open for this government shutdown when they really didn't need to do that. It's almost as if it was the plan the whole time to shut down the government and move into this next posture. Okay, well, we'll see how this develops, folks. We'll see what happens. And of course, remember, we are on the value for value model. It's very simple. We don't do any advertisements, no platform partnerships, no sponsorships, not even an affiliate code for the Logos Dr. Michael Heiser AI software. But we can only do what we do because of the participation of our producers. That's you, folks. If you get any value, did you get any value out of this show or any of the other shows we do? If you did, just remember, the only way these exist is by your participation in keeping them alive. Coming in, produce the show with your time, your talent, your treasure, whatever value you have to give to what you think God is doing in this world. You can do it. Put it back into the show. Here's this.
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
That was not the one that I wanted, but there you go. Here's this one. It's chopping off the first half second of the jingles again. Come on, StreamYard. All right, Canarians, thank you so much. We'll be back on Monday with another Canary Cry News Talk. Oh, yeah, don't forget, we need a little bit of feeding the ducks there. Thank you to everybody who came in, hang out with us live. Thank you to all of the callers. Appreciate you. The show would not be, well, anything without the callers. And hey, if you're out there, if you're a new Christian, or if you're an agnostic or an atheist or any other thing, why don't you call in next Thursday? Let's talk. I just want to help me understand. Tell me why. Tell me what's going on. Very interested to hear. And you saw this week, lots of grace around here, folks. I think we've done a pretty good job of filtering out the ingracious. They don't stick around very long around here. And with this, it's always an interesting part of a revival or a new batch of people coming into the faith. There is something about many new Christians when they find the Lord that requires a sort of rigidity often, because that's just where they're at. There's a time for that. But luckily, we've got a lot of mature people of faith around here, so it's a safe place to have those conversations. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry Clubhouse. Make sure to tune in next time, but until then, think outside the cage. Bye-bye.